Hello, and welcome to My Take at the Lake. Doing something a little different because we, as crafters, have a wide variety of interests, and this is something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. While I chat with you, grab a glue book, grab some fussy cutting, maybe some crocheting, maybe something mindless so you can listen but do your thing all at once so we can hang out. What we're going to do, I'm going to do a series. I'm thinking it's called Criminally Crafty. I don't know. Might change. Anyway, have long been interested in true crime. This is not a true crime channel, but what I've wanted to do is hang out with you and do these mindless tasks together but separate, like we're having a craft night together. But instead of talking endlessly about fussy cutting or the matter at hand, taking a 3-minute project and turning it into an hour-long video, I've wanted to tell you some stories because at my core, I'm a storyteller. So if you are adverse to hearing an F-bomb every now and again, perhaps this isn't the channel for you. I grew up in a house full of sailors. My grandmother, my father's mother, owned a bar. And so I grew up in a bar with bartenders. And I've got the language of a fucking sailor. So I believe in strong language. And once in a while that involves profanity. So this is the intro video to a series of videos that I'm going to do whilst crafting, tell you some true crime tales. And these are not tales that you will hear on the other true crime channels because these are, oddly enough, stories from my own life. It's odd to me that I have so many personal true crime stories, including one, the victim I knew, and I've written a book on that particular crime, and I'm going to tell you some stories from that particular case from my book in a few weeks. But the first one I want to start with is something that happened to me when I was 5, and so that's to me a good place to introduce this series, and because this is the intro to that series, I feel I have to give you a little bit of background. As I said at the top of the video, what I'm going to be doing, by the way, is fussy cutting all of these little dog houses. Everything I do for dogs. And a lot of the journals that I create and sell or auction are for fundraisers for the safety and well-being of dogs. And I include a dog's prayer card in every journal that I do. But this dog's prayer is a poem that is amazing, and I think it just sums up a whole bunch of things about dogs. So that's why I'm cutting out doghouse after doghouse after doghouse after doghouse. This series is going to be a series of tales while I do something like this fussy cutting, this repetitive, it's late, it's getting late, it's going on 9 o'clock, I'm tired, I don't have the brain capacity to do something that makes me have to think, but I want to keep going, so I'm going to fussy cut these whilst I tell you a story. I've been interested in true crime since I was about 10 years old and saw my first Jack the Ripper documentary. And then I was hooked on, especially about cases that will never be solved, like Lizzie Borden and Jack the Ripper, and those crazy cases that have captivated us for centuries. So when I was in grad school, I was big into true crime writing. And I was in grad school in early 2000s. And in 1991, a man that I knew, a man that I was acquainted with since I was about 5 years old, was murdered. And I just happened to be working as a new news reporter at the time of that case, and knew one day I would write about it. And in grad school, that was my creative thesis was about, my critical thesis was about that murder. We had to do 2 theses. Yes, that's what I said, theses, when I was in grad school, a research-based and a creative one. And both of my theses were on this murder case, and that's going to be one of the several of the videos, because I want to tell you a few of the stories from that book, but that's for another video another day. And my mom, like me, was a bit of a tomboy, sort of. She was a girly tomboy. All the boys liked her, all the girls hated her, because she hung out with the guys, you know. It was easier because guys are just, no offense ladies, guys are just so much more relaxed and easier to get along with. And she had a lot of friends, and one of those friends' names from high school, his name was Roger. When I think about Roger, I always think about Lionel Richie. He looked so much like Lionel Richie. He had those big white teeth, and Roger was a white man, but had Lionel Richie's big curly afro-y kind of hair, and again, this was the 70s, so that was a popular thing, and I can't see a Lionel Richie video or hear a Lionel Richie song without thinking of good old Roger. But Roger had a thing for my mom since they were kids, and when my mom and father got divorced when I was 5, Roger just swooped in and did not take no for an answer very well, even though my mom, she really liked him as a friend. He was fun, and you know, they had a good time, but she just didn't see him as partner material. Plus, my mother was busy. She had, I don't know how many full-time jobs, and she was putting herself through college. This is in the 70s, and she was doing a distance learning program. I mean, she's very forward-thinking, and, you know, she had a lot more on her mind than dating Mr. Roger. Look like Mr. Richie dude. So, but that didn't stop him. He'd come around often and want to hang out, and he'd invite mom out, and he just want to sit and chat with her. And at that time, because my mom was putting herself through school and had all these full-time jobs to work, and we were living with her parents, my grandparents, and he would stop by and hang around and shoot the shit with mom and just, you know, just hang out. And again, this was the 70s, and something that was super popular in the 70s was CB radios, thanks to the thanks to the movies and whatnot. CB radios were just a craze. Even for non-truckers, all kinds of people had CB radios in their car. It was just a fun thing. And when Roger would come over to hang out with my mom, he'd park his big old black Thunderbird with red interior and a super cool stereo. He'd park it in front of my mom's house, my grandma's house, excuse me, and he'd go in and hang out with my mom, and I would sit in his car in the driver's seat. I was 5. How cool am I? And listen to his stereo and play on the CB. Breaker, breaker, 19. Breaker, breaker, 19. Yeah. I don't know who I thought I was going to talk to, or if someone ever answered what I thought I'd say to them, but that did not stop me from hanging out on the CB. Anyway, this particular day, he had gone in and was hanging out with the mom like he always did. And at the end of the visit, I saw him come out and walk down the driveway toward the car. So I got out. And he said, "Get in the car. We're going to go to Dairy Queen." And I said, "Great. I love Dairy Queen." It was a hot summer day. Seemed like a great idea to me. But my mother and my grandmother taught me oh so well that you never just take off with someone. You always tell them where you're going. Oh, and by the way, sometimes on these later night videos, alcohol's involved. I'm having a nice cold craft beer, something coffee related, vanilla bean, locally brewed, very tasty. Welcome to My Take at the Lake. Can't be at the lake without good beer. Anyway, so he said, "No, I already told your mom I was going to take you to Dairy Queen. Just get in the car." And I said, "No, I got to go tell my mom." Again, I'm 5. And he said, "No, get in the car. I already told your mom. She said it was fine." And I said, "No, I'm going in to tell my mom." 'Cause I'm 5, but stubborn and raised right. Truth be told, for some reason, the biggest thing I was afraid of when I was young was making my mom worry. I don't know how she instilled that or where that came from. But the idea of her not knowing where I was or worrying about me scared me more than anything. More than that potential, what I look back on as a potential kidnapping. And my mother also raised me. Yeah, I was talking back to an adult. I was 5, but I was raised to think for myself. And yeah, even though he was an adult, I knew better. And fuck all that. I knew better. I was going to go in and tell my mom. Something in me said, go to mom, go to mom, go to mom. And I did. I went to mom. And I said, "Roger wants to take me to Dairy Queen." He said it was okay. He said he told you. And she said, "Really?" He didn't say anything to me about it. And we looked out and he was gone. So it's a very short, not even really a true crime story. It's a true crime wannabe story. And I apologize for the sort of clickbait. But I've always wondered, what were his intentions with my 5-year-old self? Did he plan to take me to Dairy Queen, buy me a goodie, and bring me home? I just don't think that was his intention. Did he plan to hold me hostage until she said, "Yeah, I'll go out with you. Yeah, we can be a couple"? Did he plan to take and abuse me and strangle me? I live in northern Michigan, and there's a lot of sinkholes around it. He planned to abuse me and murder me as retribution for her saying no to him. I have no idea. I do know that Mom did not see him after that. That pretty much put the kibosh on their friendship, let alone any chances he had to date her. And I didn't see him again until, it had to be 30 years later, maybe more. His son died. His teenage son died. So he had kids late, apparently. His teenage son was out joyriding with his buddies. They were drunk and high and whatnot, and there was an accident, and he was ejected from the vehicle and killed upon impact, and it was just a sad story. So Mom and I went to the funeral, not to the funeral itself, but to the memorial. We went to the funeral home, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever seen anyone all dressed up in their finest blue jeans. His parents were divorced, but his father and his mother were both in their denim best. I'd never been to a funeral where people were dressed in jeans, let alone the parents of the deceased. And I learned that they were so poor that the visitation was it. After the visitation, literally they were loading the boy's coffin in the dad's pickup truck, and Dad was going to drive him to the cemetery because they couldn't afford that particular cost of the funeral. Oh my. I mean, the whole thing was just so sad. And so, what are your thoughts? Like, would you have done the same thing when you were 5? If you have kids or have had kids at 5 years old, what would they have done, do you think? How do you think this would have ended had I gone with him and just said, oh, okay, I'll get in the car with you? And not run in and said, Mom, Roger wants to take me to Dairy Queen. How would that have ended, do you think? So my fussy cutting is over. I only printed the one sheet because, again, it's a very short, almost non-true crime story. Love to hear your thoughts on this idea. I'm going to do another one. The next one has to do with the murderer who was at my sweet 16 birthday party. I had my boyfriend and my parents threw me a surprise sweet 16 party. And one of the people who attended turned out to have murderous tendencies. And he is, as we speak, serving his life sentence in prison just north of here. I'd love to know what you think. Next time, it'll be a little bit longer, or probably about the same, because there won't be the preamble. So I'll just tell you the story about the murder at my birthday party. Plan on it. Get yourself some fussy cutting, or get your glue book out, or the magazines that you want to harvest images from, or you're crocheting, or get something that you can hang out and we can just chit chat. I'll tell you another story. I'm so glad you joined me this evening for this particular criminally crafty little event, and I hope that it'll be an ongoing series. I have several personal stories plus the facets story to tell you, and then who knows where maybe that'll be it for the series. Maybe we'll go on to talk about some higher profile things, but I do have quite a few stories to tell you that are my own personal that you won't see anywhere else, so stay tuned. Again, so glad that you joined me. We'll see you again next time here at My Take at the Lake. Have a great night.